Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're tuning in because, well, we're tackling something today that affects literally every single one of us, every single day. We're going to explore this totally fascinating concept of how our everyday words, the stuff we just casually say without thinking, aren't just passive sounds. They are actually active tools that shape our psychological reality. You know how sometimes the exact things you complain about just seem to multiply, like a self-fulfilling prophecy? Well, today we're unpacking the psychology behind exactly why that happens, and way more importantly, how we can completely flip the script. Okay, let's dive right into this. So picture this. Have you ever been to a shrine and pulled one of those paper fortunes? If it says excellent luck, your mood just instantly skyrockets, right? You feel absolutely invincible. But if it says bad luck, suddenly it's hanging over your head like this dark, heavy cloud for the rest of the day. And what's really kind of funny here is that even people who proudly claim, oh, I'm completely non-spiritual, or I'm super logical, they still let these tiny little slips of paper completely dictate their mood. So why is that? Why do we selectively let these totally external forces control how we feel? Section 1, the psychology of convenient interpretation. To really understand this, we've got to look at how human beings process reality. This actually brings us to a really foundational concept in psychology. It's known as the self-serving bias. Basically, when things go right, our brain instantly goes, well, of course that worked out. I'm brilliant, I work super hard. But when things go wrong, suddenly it's the environment, or it's a bad shrine fortune, or it's just plain old bad luck. Our minds are naturally wired to seek out a convenient reality rather than, the objective truth. We are so quick to take credit for the good stuff, but we desperately want to outsource the blame for the bad. Moving on to Section 2, the Jizo statue and the paradox of complaints. I want to share a story from our source material that is just too good. And this brilliantly illustrates that wild contradiction we all carry around. So the author was out with a friend and they were volunteering to clean a Jizo statue in a cemetery. It's this quiet, deeply sacred activity meant to purify a holy space. But there was a catch. The friend was incredibly frustrated with work. So they were literally scrubbing this sacred stone monument to cleanse it, while simultaneously just spewing this toxic, unchecked stream of complaints about their boss and their job. It's such a wild image, right? Purifying the stone on the outside, while actively polluting the air with grievances on the inside. Actually, before they even started cleaning, the author suggested, hey, let's at least hold off on the complaints while we do this. And the friend totally agreed. They smiled, said got it, and picked up the broom. But literally within minutes, the grievances just started pouring out all over again. Why? Because habitual words flow infinitely faster than our logical restraint. Even when we mentally agree, okay, I'm going to stop complaining, that negative habit is just so deeply ingrained in our daily lives that the words completely bypass our brain's filter. Section 3, the bizarre chain reaction at the sushi restaurant. This is where the story takes a super fascinating turn. So right after the cemetery, they head to a sushi restaurant, and it turns into this comedy of awkward errors. Step by step, things just completely unravel. First, the sushi plates on the conveyor belt inexplicably jam up right next to their totally empty table. Then, the plates actually start crashing to the floor. They call for help, but this young, kind of clueless part-timer comes over, gives this really half-hearted apology, and the manager is nowhere to be found. Now, all the other customers are staring at them like they caused this huge mess. And the grand finale? The high-speed delivery lane violently crashes at a completely different table across the room. I mean, whether you believe in karma or not, it was literally as if the sheer momentum of the friend's negative venting had spilled right out into their physical environment. Which brings us to Section 4. Why venting amplifies frustration. That bizarre sushi shop experience perfectly tees up what's actually happening in our brains. So the crucial point is this. We usually think letting off steam clears our minds, right? But psychology tells us the exact opposite. Venting doesn't release the pressure, it reinforces it. Every single time you vocalize a complaint, you aren't letting it go. You are actually etching it more vividly and strongly into your own memory. You're giving that frustration life, volume, and serious staying power. You see, words aren't just innocent descriptions of the world. They're the actual tools that solidify our thoughts. When you repeat complaints over and over, you are actively training your brain. You're essentially writing a script that says, I am a victim in an unfortunate situation. And the more you read that script out loud, the more your brain genuinely believes it. It cements this victim identity, which makes it harder and harder to see anything positive. Your brain just gets completely fixated on the narrative of your own misery. Section 5. The hidden wish behind the complaint. Because, look, we are human. We get frustrated. Let's move to and see how this builds into a much healthier framework. If venting just makes it worse, What do? First, you have to acknowledge the frustration without judging yourself. Please do not suppress the raw emotion. But here's the absolute magic step. Search for the hidden desire beneath the anger. Every single complaint you make is actually just a mask for something you deeply want but aren't getting. Once you figure out what that is, you can consciously shift your vocabulary from a past grievance straight into a future goal. Section 6. Change your words, change your future. This isn't just fluffy, toxic positivity stuff. It's a super practical way to rewire your mind. Let's translate a couple of these everyday examples. Say your standard complaint is, "My boss doesn't listen." Well, that's completely past-focused and powerless. But what's the hidden wish there? It's really, "I want an environment where my opinions are heard." Or what about, "Nothing ever changes around here"? The hidden wish is, "I want to believe in the possibility of change." Do you feel the difference in energy there? By just reframing the words, you instantly move from being a helpless victim of the past to an active architect of your future. You give your brain a clear goal to work toward instead of just a brick wall to bang its head against.
You know, we have tens of thousands of thoughts every single day. Out of all that chaotic noise, your brain has to decide what's important to focus on. And honestly, your brain is pretty simple. It just catches the reality that your words cast. If your vocabulary is constantly full of how things failed, your brain is going to meticulously highlight every single new failure for you. But if you change your vocabulary to how things could be, your brain suddenly starts filtering for positive, future-oriented possibilities. It literally starts spotting opportunities that were there the whole time, but were just hidden behind your complaints.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the ultimate challenge it presents to each and every one of us right now. Are your habitual words today just a lament for the past, or are they actively willing your future into existence? Take a quick second to really audit the words you've spoken today. Are you scrubbing the statue while complaining about the boss, or are you articulating the future you actually want to live in? The choice is entirely yours, and it literally starts with the very next word you say.